Good to know. Meanwhile, we got Lala.
Lala the Clown.
Lala the Clown. Give it up for Lala. Lala, have you ever done performance before?
Yes.
What kind?
Theater, college, just playing around basically.
I would say by the makeup you're used to being in front of people.
Sometimes.
Yes. And then we got, here, slide over.
Breakers.
Get a chair over here. And you guys, you got a mic? And you got a mic? Do you have a
I
mic?
have a mic, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, fucking good. Tell them your name,
I'm Craig.
and we'll give it up for Craig. You saw Craig before this, again. Craig, you've done some acting before?
I have
All right, man. What kind of acting?
lots of different musical theater.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, that's great because there's songs in this. No. But that's good.
Yes.
That's fucking good. I'll take, do we have all of your guys' script?
Yeah,
I'll use my phone. No, I can use my phone. They
You
can.
might need for narration and stuff.
I will use the one on my phone, is what I'm saying. All right, let me find it. Hold on. I sent it to Jay earlier. There it is. Oh, I fucking airlifted it. God damn it. You're beautiful. God damn it. Where's the other guy? Fucking talk, bro. Cover for me.
Sorry, I was getting turned back out too. I felt
Fucking
better.
entertain while I look for this thing. Go.
What the fucking hell? This is entertaining enough watching you like, oh, we are gonna read this and it's gonna be fun. I don't get to start for a little bit, which is a bummer. Really, I feel like I should have been on every fucking page. But you know, it's the way it is. But this has been honestly a lot of fun. We've done it like 4 other places, I believe, and it's always a blast. Oh, well, it shouldn't be a blast, especially this motley crew that I see right here. Not really motley crew, but this is gonna be good. I can see everyone has the heart and the energy ready to rock this.
All right, everyone has a script.
Yup.
You are playing Alyssa. You are playing Holden McNeil, a role popularized by Ben Affleck. Can you be Affleck for us?
I can try.
Pretty damn good Ben right there. And Lala, you are going to be playing a character named Sean Hartle. Sean Hartle has never been seen in movies, but he was referenced in Mallrats. Brody says Sean Hartle's giving everyone the inside scoop. So that is the character that you're going to be playing. Since it has never been established before, like, you know, we know what fucking Holden and Alyssa are supposed to be like. You have the most freedom with performance.
Think of your best voice. Think of Sean Hartle. Where's Sean Hartle?
Why, you can do voices? You got it, not unless you.
I can do a lot of
mics.
voices.
Yeah, you're right. You can do voices?
A lot.
Give me 5 different, you're talking about celebrity impersonations?
All kinds.
All right, give me 5 famous people. Go.
Hey, what's up, man? It's Morty. Morty Smith. How are you? My name is Cleveland Brown.
Hi, Stephen again. Nice to meet you. You're looking smashingly. I just want to say that. He said, creep. Yeah, of course you got. Anyway, you want to know how I got these scars? See, my dad was a bit of a drinker. Well, took a knife, put it in my mom's mouth, looked at me, and he said, "Why are you so serious?"
That's good. All right, so you were going to play Sean Hartle as Heath Ledger. That's the fucking move. Can either of you do impressions? You guys are going to be using your own voices to play these characters. But mind you, they have been played before. So don't take it too far off the page. Everyone kind of knows what to expect with those guys. I'll be here directing, so I'll keep you on the rails and stuff. So we have our Sean Hartle, we have our Holden McNeil, we have our Alyssa Jones. Silent Bob has no lines, but we have Jason Mewes saying the role of Jay.
Yes.
I will be reading all of the screen direction, as well as any incidental shit I need to. Here we go, kids. Quick Stops Issue 1, Holding Back the Years by Kevin Smith. Second draft, April 2nd, 20, well, that says 21, should be 22. Stoner wrote this. Page 1, panel 1, exterior Hollywood Chronicon Convention Center Day. Establishing shot of all sorts of variations of Jay and Silent Bob or Blunt Man and Chronic cosplayers headed into the convention building for the 10th annual Hollywood Chronicon. And in parentheses, I instruct the artist to use image from Jay and Silent Bob reboot as reference. And the narration box says the 10th annual Hollywood Chronicon. And then we hear the off-panel voice of Alyssa Jones, who's telling a story, and she says,
"So, with Holden's blessing, next year I'll be making his award-winning comic book Chasing Amy into a live-action series for Netflix."
well done, give it up for her, man. She did a first no direction necessary. Panel 2, interior Hollywood Chronicon floor dead. Place is packed with even more variations of Jay and Silent Bob or Blunt Man and Chronic cosplayers, all buying or selling Jay and Silent Bob or Blunt Man and Chronic merchandise. Use image from Jay and Silent Bob reboot as reference. We continue, we hear the off-panel Alyssa say,
But Netflix owns an edgier title than Chasing Amy, and Holden and I have been having a hard time coming up with something we like better.
I'm gonna stop you right there, that sounded pornographic. But I like it very much. It makes me want to go back and remake Chasing Amy with that performance all throughout. Holden, I'm having a hard time. I love it. Okay, panel 3, interior convention center hallway day. The hallway is clogged with Blunt Man Chronics and Jay's and Silent Bob's. They're headed to various panel rooms, and we hear Alyssa say,
So since the story is going to be told from my perspective, this time instead of his perspective, like he did in the original comic book, Holden suggested a new title.
Panel 4, close on a placard outside of a panel room, kind of like this, indicating what the panel is that's going on inside. The placard says, Chronicon Guest of Honor, Holden McNeil's Blunt Man Beyond podcast, live recording in progress. And we hear off-panel Holden say,
Tell the audience what you think I should call the Chasing Amy Netflix show. Holden.
God damn it, that's wrong. So that's Alyssa's line.
Okay.
Even though it says Holden, again, written by a stoner. Even though it says off-panel Holden, take it off-panel Alyssa.
Tell the audience what you think I should call the Chasing Amy Netflix show, Holden.
Okay, now we're back on track. So pages 2 and 3, we got a double splash page. And here it says double splash. This guy was real big. Interior panel room day, Alyssa Jones and Holden McNeil, they're on stage recording the episode of this podcast, Blunt Man Beyond, that we saw Holden wrapping up all the equipment from in Jay and Silent Bob reboot. So basically this whole issue takes place right before that scene in Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Holden smiles through his punchline delivery as Alyssa laughs heartily. We're behind the seated row in the front so we can see the audience is laughing and clapping as well. Use image from Jay and Silent Bob reboot as reference. I'm gonna take you back, Alyssa. Give us that setup line one more time, and then we're gonna go right into Holden so it sounds a little better. So take 2 on that last line that says off-panel Holden, but it's really off-panel Alyssa.
Tell the audience what you
Hold on, I gotta tell you action, that's how this works. And action.
Tell the audience what you think I should call the Chasing Amy Netflix show, Holden.
And Holden says,
I said Alyssa she should call it Holding My Dick.
and the audience laughs, unlike this one. And they clap as well. The credit box says, the credits box says Dark Horse Comics and Secret Stash Press present Holden McNeil, Alyssa Jones, and Jane Silent Bob, and Holding Back the Years, written by Kevin Smith with art by To Be Determined. Page 4, panel 1. Alyssa turns to Holden for a sidebar question. She says,
How many episodes of this podcast have you recorded now?
This will be episode 210.
But this is the first time that you've been interviewed on it? Is that right?
keep going.
Correct. Normally I'm the one doing the interviewing, talking to the top talent in the industry. Legends like Bill Sienkiewicz,
Close enough.
Jim Lee, and even Stan the Man, a few years before he passed away. So I feel bad for you.
You know what, cut, I'm gonna hold you right there. Let's hear that Batman Affleck, that's what we're doing.
All
Take
right.
it again, and action.
Normally I'm the one doing the interviewing, talking to the top talent of the industry,
I'm
legends.
gonna cut you right there. You gotta go deeper with that Ben Affleck Batman.
Okay.
Who's out here?
All right.
And action.
Normally I'm the one doing the interviewing, talking to the top talent of the industry.
Now we're sounding pornographic again. We'll let you go back to your normal voice. Here we go. And action.
Normally I'm the one doing the interviewing, talking to the top talent in the industry, legends like Jim Lee and even Stan the Man a few years before he passed away. So I feel bad for you in this audience because we usually get way more talented guests than me in Blunt Man Beyond.
And Alyssa says,
But when he feels bad, he just dries his eyes on all his Netflix money. Okay, last question for Prime Time. Guest of honor, Holden McNeil. Who's it gonna be? How about...
panel 4, the audience is filled with Blunt Man and Chronic clones and Jay and Silent Bob cosplayers, but Sean Hartle is standing at the microphone wearing a Comic Toast t-shirt featuring the logo from the comic book store in Mallrats. And Alyssa says,
You.
Hi, Mr. McNeil.
oh my God, that's unsettling. Panel 5, Holden is smiling somehow through that. Alyssa is rolling her eyes. Holden says,
Whoa, bro. Mr. McNeil is my father, sir. Just call me Holden. Or, guest of honor, Holden McNeil.
That's it.
Alyssa says Pastor, but it's really Pastor, that's my bad. It's something called each other in Chasing Amy, and I stole it from, what was that movie? Better movie, Searching for Bobby Fischer. It refers to somebody who's like a ringer, somebody who's not good at chess, Pastor. So, I'm gonna let you do it again. And action.
That's it.
Yeah, there it is. Fucking I said it. Page 5, panel 1. Closer on a delighted Holden. Holden says,
Wait a minute. Is that a Comic Toast t-shirt? Are you from Jersey?
and Sean Hartle's all smiles. He says,
I am. And it is.
don't forget to do the lip look again. Do it again.
My name is Sean Hartle.
So enjoyable. Everybody should talk like this.
I'm from Middletown, and I used to go to Comic Toast in the Eden Prairie every week until Brody Bruce opened up the secret stash at Red Bank. I've known Brody since high school. So I switched stores and gave him my business.
The really fucking sad thing is whoever reads this book is not going to read it with me. And then I'm going to have to include a note that says, read as Heath Ledger's Joker. Go ahead.
That Steve Dave guy made it easy to leave. He was always such a tool.
And Holden says,
That Steve Day guy is a fucking tool. I used to buy all my books from the store, and homie would relish telling me how much my comic sucks to my face.
panel 4, Interior Comicology Day flashback. Holden and Banky Edwards are at a comic rack filled with Blunt Man and Chronic issue 2. Use image from Chasing Amy's deleted scene as reference that we hear Holden saying in voiceover.
But one of the funniest things I ever saw in my life happened at this store the day issue 2 of Blunt Man hit the stands.
Panel 5, Holden and Banky get shit from Steve, Dave, and the fanboy at the counter. Use image from Chasing Amy's deleted scene as reference, Holden says.
Steve Dave was talking shit about the book to me and Banky, and he pissed Banky off so bad.
Panel 6, Exterior Red Bank Street Day flashback. Banky is writing in his checkbook with his foot on a metal trash can. Holden's baffled, standing beside him. Holden says,
Banky left the store, wrote a check for $5,000, taped it to the garbage can.
Page 6, panel 1, Steve, Dave, and the fanboy react to the garbage can coming through the window. Use image from Chasing Amy deleted scene as reference. Holden's voiceover tells us.
And then Banky hurled the garbage can through Steve Dave's window. Dude never said jack shit again.
That is a scene that we deleted from the movie. It was the original opening scene of Chasing Amy shit. So if you're deeply familiar with that flick and you see this in a comic book, you're going to come so hard. Panel 2, wide shot of Holden and Alyssa on stage and Sean at the mic in the audience. Holden is more delighted than Alyssa, as Holden says.
But fuck him. You're from Middletown? Our Middletown? Did you go north or south?
I went north.
Just changes the meaning completely. Holden says,
Alyssa went to North. I went to Hudson.
Calm down. We share some geography with the guy, not DNA. Okay, fellow Jersey expat, what is your question for guest of honor with all his fancy badges?
Panel 3, Sean Hartle finally asks his question. He says,
I just started smoking weed again.
that's the fucking Batman sequel I want to see!
After not smoking since college, my favorite thing to do when I'm blazed is read the original run of Blunt Man. It takes me straight up to the 90s, back when I was skate rat who practically lived at the mall. And I was a big image of Contender Kid in those days. So when I reread your Blunt Man books, they bring me to that happy place.
Literally like it was written for the Joker. Panel 4, Sean asks his question from the audience. Holden and Alyssa are on stage. Holden says,
Oh, thanks, man. It means a lot.
he said terrified. Alyssa says,
Is there a question in there?
and then Sean says,
Sorry. I didn't ask any questions. How do you come up with the idea for Blunt Man and Chronic?
don't answer him. Panel 5, close on delighted Holden, who does answer. Holden says,
You want a secret origin? Well, I got the idea for Blunt Man and Chronic and Jay and Silent Bob from the real Jay and Silent Bob.
Page 7, panel 1, exterior quick stop, day flashback, establishing shot of the legendary store circa 1990. Use any image from Clerks as reference. Angle it so that we don't see through the front window into the store. We hear Holden's voiceover tell us.
You know the quick stop at Leonardo?
Panel 2, interior quick stop, day flashback. A younger than he is in Chasing Amy, Holden McNeil sketches in an art pad behind the counter at the legendary Quick Stop. Use any image from Clerks as reference. He wears the old Quick Stop smock that Jay was wearing in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And we hear Holden say,
I worked there for a month, the summer before I went to college.
so okay, if you're into this, movies and shit like that, if you love the Goose Universe, you just found out that fucking Holden McNeil once worked at Quick Stop. 12 people in the world would be like, Panel 3, over Holden onto what he's sketching in the art pad. It's a version of the cover of Ranger Danger Requiem, which was the shirt that Jay was wearing in Reboot. Holden
It was
says,
the most amazing job where I had no oversight and tons of time to sit around and draw because nobody ever came to that store.
Panel 4, close on Holden, lost in his drawing, framed by the edges of clothing worn by waiting customers on the other side of the counter, who we don't see yet, but we know who they are. Holden's voiceover says,
Well, nobody but them.
and then Jay says,
Yo, Bob Ross, you really want to paint something?
go ahead.
Paint these nuts with your tongue, you cock smoker.
Bill Gates splash page over Holden on Jay and Silent Bob. As Silent Bob puts movie brand Uhu on the counter to purchase, Jay yanks his pants down with one hand, holds his dick with the other, so that only his hanging nuts are exposed. And here it says, use image from Zack and Miri as reference. Jay sticks his tongue out metal style when he says that line. So the very next panel is page 9, panel 1. Holden shields his eyes from behind the counter and he says,
Jesus, get those things away from the ice cream. Haagen-Dazs.
Says the guy who's always hogging dogs in his mouth. Huge. Pack a rash, my good man. It's time to kick back, drink some beers, and smoke some weed.
Panel 3, we see both parties in profile as Holden hands raps to Jay and Silent Bob is extending money to Holden. Jay is screaming his head off in performance mode. Holden says,
Didn't you guys ever see Scarface?
Fuck Casper Gomez and fuck the fucking Diaz brothers!
I was thinking the other line. Don't get high on your own supply.
I've now heard him do that fuck Casper Gomez line like 6 times out loud. Makes me laugh each and every time. Panel 4. Jay rolls a joint at the counter with the new raps while Silent Bob plays it modestly cool. Jay says,
Tony Montana never had any cocaine as good as this homegrown weed. That's because Silent Bob's a horticultural genius. He grew a whole new strain of smoke just by crossbreeding some dirt weed seeds in an old Flintstones terrarium kit. Motherfuckers like MacGyver. No motherfucker's better than MacGyver. And I can prove it.
I just want to give it up for him. He got terrarium right. Give it up. The 2 words. Many syllables. Yeah, it landed. Fucking white whale, you got it, man. Nah, you lost it already. Panel 5. Jay extends the rolled joint to a nervous Holden as Silent Bob looks on smiling, and Jay says,
Hit this shit with us and find out.
Are you nuts? Put that away.
Look, you buy weed from us all the time.
But I don't smoke it in public. We can't blaze right here at the store. What if the cops come in?
Panel 6, close on Jay, eyebrow arched mischievously as he indicates the door to the cooler at the back of the store behind him, and Jay says,
Then lock the door and let's hit this shit back in the cooler, kid.
Page 10, panel 1, interior panel room back at Chronicon. So we come back to the present. Back at the con, close on Holden telling his story. Holden says,
Now mind you, back then, it's not like it was today. This morning I just bought a pack of pre-rolls at Maui Wowie Pre-Rolls at the weed store that's across the street from movies. That's the world we live in now. But this was the early 90s, when just having weed seeds in your pocket would be enough to send you to jail. So I had to be clever.
and Holden hangs a sign that says, taking a shit, back in 5 minutes. Panel 3, interior cooler day. Holden and Jay and Silent Bob are in the cooler, surrounded by sodas and milk. Use image from Clerks 3 as reference, because for the first time ever, we go inside the cooler in Clerks 3. Not the first time, we did it in the cartoon as well. But in the moment in Clerks 3 where we enter the cooler, if you listen very closely, Brian throws away the line where he goes, oh, it's cold in here, hospital, and he gets interrupted. If you know the cartoon, it's fun. Holden and Jay are in the cooler. Jay and Silent Bob. Jay is lighting the joint in his mouth and looking at Holden's smock that he's wearing. Holden is rubbing his own arms to stay warm. Jay says,
I like that schmuck you gotta wear.
You mean this smock? I hate it.
Can I have it?
No.
Oh man, I'm sharing my weed with you and you can't even share your clothes?
Jay passes the joint to Holden. Holden's making an ill face. Jay says,
Look, I'm gonna stop calling you Holden McNeil and start calling you holding on to material possessions. You're up, hero pup.
Ew, you fucking drooled on it, man.
Panel 5, Holden hits the joint as Jay and Silent Bob look on. Jay says,
Yo, you wanna come see Dick Tracy with me and Silent Bob tonight? I think it's porno.
Panel 6, close on Holden, holding his smoke, eyes wide. He's looking at, and we hear, he's looking at Jay and Silent Bob, and we hear what he's thinking. And Holden's voiceover tells us,
I didn't see Dick Tracy that night. Instead,
good.
I saw my heroes.
Page 11, splash page, interior blunt cave. Holden's stone POV has changed the cooler into the blunt cave and turned Jay and Silent Bob into Blunt Man and Chronic. Behind them, we could see in place of a giant dinosaur, like in the back cave, bless you, the blunt cave has a giant movie statue in the same T-Rex pose. On a lower or higher platform behind them is the Bluntmobile, and there's a hint of a giant penny. Chronic screams,
Holy home invaded Vicky Bales, blunt man! Who let this cock-smoking clerk into our bitchin' blunt cave?
Page 12, panel 1, reveal Holden is standing in front of them just as he was in the store, exhaling a cloud of smoke with a joint in his hand. Holden says,
Holy shit, this weed is amazing.
Panel 2, wide on the blunt cave as an alarm sounds, and Blunt Man and Chronic go racing for the Bluntmobile, chased after by Holden. The sound effects go, reet, reet.
Holy shit, blunt man! That re-re can only mean one thing!
Panel 3, Blunt Man and Chronic hop into the two-seater Bluntmobile. Holden is following them, but still a few feet from the car. Chronic says,
That mutated motherfucker must be back!
Who's back? Where are we going, guys? I gotta get back to the store.
Panel 4, close on the fire shooting from the Bluntmobile's jet engine exhaust. It says, "Foom" is the sound effect. Panel 5, the Bumpmobile takes off with Holden holding on to the vehicle's fin. The sound effect says screech. Holden says, wait! Page 13, panel 1, we're over a hanging on for dear life Holden, over Chronic, who's looking back at Holden as Bluntman drives the Bluntmobile toward the mouth of the cave ahead. Chronic says,
There's no time, so you better bust out your best spanker, Chief, because you're coming with us!
I'm gonna pause you and just, it's more, is it Spanker Chief or Spanker Chip?
It sounds like spanker, Chief, and the way it's spelled.
Well, that's just how it's spelled.
Oh,
How do
okay.
you say handkerchief?
There's no time, so you better bust out your spanker, Chip, because you're coming with us!
Give it up for him, we got it right, ladies and gentlemen. Panel 2, exterior Blunt Cave night. The biggest panel on the page, Bluntmobile explodes into the night from the mouth of the Blunt Cave with a gritted teeth Holden, a gritted teeth Bluntman driving, a hooting Jay riding shotgun, and Holden holding onto the tail of the car for dear life. The sound effects say boom. Chronic says
Snitch!
Panel 3, closer on Holden as he holds onto the tail of the Bluntmobile for dear life. Chronic's hand is extending in from off panel, holding out a classic sidekick domino mask to Holden. Chronic says,
Quick, kid, put on this mask! You gotta protect your secret identity! From who?
page 14, panel 1, exterior the mud pit from Dark Knight Returns. In the same mud pit where Batman fought the mutant leader in The Dark Knight Returns is a mutant leader-looking version of Cockknocker. The mutant gang looks on, use image from Dark Knight Returns as reference. Cockknocker, I would like, you know what? You can do Heath Ledger, can you do Mark Hamill?
Of course I can.
That's it, all right. So you be Cockknocker.
That's right. I kill you. I show you the rules. Red Bang.
Holy shit. How many more Jokers can you do? That's 2. Off panel, Chronic says,
Okay, boy,
and then,
show us.
so panel 2, like in The Dark Knight Returns, Bluntman and Chronic rise from the mud pit, ready to fight the enraged Cockknocker who screams. Well, there weren't that many syllables, but I'll take that. That was amazing. Page 15, panel 1. Just like in The Dark Knight Returns, we go close on 2 heavily silhouetted gang members named Rob and Don. But they're dressed like Cockknocker Cockmandos. Use image from Jay and Silent Bob, a reboot as reference. Wearing his domino mask, Holden is fully lit from behind. Rob and Don horrified at the off-panel action. Rob, I will be Rob. Rob says, you see Don, Bluntman, he nasty. And then Don says, but Cockknocker Rob, he balls nasty. Because in panel 2, in the mud pit, Cockknocker smashes his giant fist into the crotch of Chronic, who goes wide-eyed and goes, ooh! And then says,
Avenge me! Happy night!
and it falls over into the mud. Panel 4, Bluntman takes Cockknocker down into the mud. Use image from Dark Knight Returns as reference. And Holden, as his voiceover tells us,
Cockknocker doesn't get it.
close on the fighting in the mud, man. Go ahead.
This isn't a mud hole.
Closer on the fighting as Bluntman grabs Cockknocker's big fisted arm.
It's a breed. Bris?
Wrist.
Sorry. Bris. It's a bris.
Wrist is where they cut your dick off in a religious ceremony. Page 16, panel 1, smaller panel. Bluntman breaks Cockknocker's arm. We hear crack, and Holden says,
And Bluntman's some oil.
well done, man. You got, once you had Wrist,
Yeah, once I had
you
Bris.
right some oil. Well done, give it up for him, he had oil. Meanwhile, Cockknocker says, with his Panel 2, biggest bet, you made this book so much better. Panel 2, I need you to read it to everybody. Biggest panel on the page, a muddy Bluntman stands over the down and defeated Cockknocker, surrounded by impressed Cockknocker Cockmandos. Use image from Dark Knight Returns as reference. Chronic is getting up again, and Domino masked Holden cheers him from the sidelines. The voiceover Holden says,
And as the Cockmandos looked on in horror, The hip knight foiled with the fist.
Panel 3, close on a former cock knocker Commando Rob, who now wears a pot leaf painted across his face. Used image from The Dark Knight Returns as reference, and he goes, "The cock knockers are dead, they're history. This is the mark of the future. Red Bank belongs to the blood man." Panel 4, you know what? I get to do a voice too. I will do it as Tom Hardy's band.
The cock knockers are dead. Oh, history. This is the mark of the future. The Red Bank belongs to the blood man.
Panel 4, a money chronic appeals to Holden, who is taking off his smock. Blunt Man is lighting a victory joint, and Chronic says,
Yo, sidekick! I got so much fucking mud in my eyes, I'm as blind as Matt Murdock! Let me borrow your schmuck so I can wipe it off!
that Matt Murdock line only gets a laugh in a place like this. Panel 5, Holden hands off his smock to Chronic as Blunt Man looks on, half smiling, and Holden says,
I can't believe this. You guys aren't just some dirt merchants around outside a convenience store dealing drugs. You're secretly superheroes and you're waging a war on crime.
Panel 1, interior quick stop cooler. We're back in the cooler, where Gleeful Jay holds up Holden's smock triumphantly in his hand, with his other hand on the open door. Silent Bob's already giggling as he exits, and Jay says,
I just stole your schmuck, you fuck!
Panel 2, behind the joint holding Holden as the cooler door slams shut, leaving him alone, and the sound effect says, slam, and then off panel we hear Jay go,
Snooze!
Panel 3, Holden is alone in the cooler. Lit joint still in his hand. He's dwarfed by the sodas and milks, and he crawls out to the door.
I'm gonna get that smock back one day.
You know what? I'm gonna cut there. I want a bigger Ben Affleck
All right.
performance.
All right.
Really, in fact, don't give me Affleck. Give me Matt Damon strong. Here we go. He's not here. And action.
I'm gonna get that smock back one day.
I like that. Give it up for him, man. Panel 4, same setup, and now Holden hits the joint, and Holden's voiceover tells us.
I never got that smock back.
And then he says out loud as he's smoking his joint, he says very small,
Foul mouth, little chucklehead.
well done. And then he hits the joint. Page 18, panel 1, interior panel room. We're back in the present. Holden's finishing his story in a close-up, and Holden says,
And I got fired for losing it, which is why it's okay. I went on to college for like a week later.
hold on, you wrote too fast, and you're messing up the writing. The writer hates that.
Oh.
And take 2, Craig's got this. Look, find the inner Affleck.
Yeah,
You find it?
I'm trying to.
Here we go. Just J-Lo it. And
And I got fired for losing it, which was okay because I went to college like a week or 2 later. But then I dropped out of college by the end of my sophomore year. So that's why Banky and I self-published our first book, a black and white comic called 37, which was all about that summer I spent working at the Quick Stop.
panel 2, yeah, if you know Chasing Amy, that's the book that Banky and Holden made before Blunt Man Crime. It was called 37 and shit. And so we tie it back in. The guy who wrote this must really like those movies. Panel 2, wide on the room, so we see Holden and Alyssa on stage, as well as Sean Hartle at the mic and the seated crowd. And Holden says,
37 won an Eisner Award and turned me and Banky into Comic-Con rock stars. That's when the Contender came out, That's when Contender came, calling and offered us a deal.
Contender was the label that they published their comics under. Back to you.
So I set up a studio in Red Bank with my best friend, and the first book we published was based on the shit I saw that night when I got crazy high with Jay and Silent Bob in the cooler at Quick Stop.
Give it up for him. That's a mouthful. Panel 3, close on Sean Hartle for a follow-up question. Sean says,
What the real Jay and Silent Bob think of the comic book? Jay and Silent Bob.
close on Holden when he responds.
When I showed them my earliest pencils, instead of feeling flattered, they drew characters to look exactly like them. Silent Bob negotiated a deal on their behalf for likeness rights. So years later, when Banky sold the book to Miramax to make the movie, Jay and Silent Bob got a big chunk of change, which, if I remember correctly, they spent flying around the country to beat the shit out of the kid.
How many people want to keep throwing on it?
Panel 5, Sean Hartle's at the mic, and he's holding up his ChronicCon badge, and he says,
What do the real Jay and Silent Bob think about the reboot that Kevin James is making right now?
Page 19, panel 1, close on Holden, and as he corrects him, he says,
Kevin Smith, not Kevin James. The flick would have a fucking chance if Kevin James was directing it.
He's throwing shade at Kevin Smith.
But I don't know what Jay and Bob think about Bluntman v. Chronic. I haven't seen either of them since the Miramax was making the first flick.
Panel 2, Interior Posters Inc. Day flashback. Jay and Silent Bob hold up the Wizard magazine featuring their comic counterparts. Use image from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as reference, and we hear Holden say,
They came to me looking for what they call a motherfucking movie check. But I was out of the Bluntman business by then. They said they were going to Hollywood to stop it, but they didn't, and that movie became a campy cult classic.
Panel 3, Exterior Provasic Night flashback. An image from Jay from a video camera threatening the viewer. Use image from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as reference, and Holden tells us in voiceover.
For a red hot minute, they were all over the news after being mistaken for the leaders of a terrorist organization.
And on the video, Jay says,
I am the Clint Commander! I make that shit work, man! I'll pinch it like this.
Panel 4, Alyssa and Holden are on stage chuckling, and Alyssa says,
Clint Commander was my nickname in the 90s when I identified as a lesbian.
How do you identify now?
I am pansexual in a committed relationship. How do you identify now?
As a dad, more than anything else.
oh, remember, he's got a kid now, and reboot and stuff. I also think it's very pertinent information, though, that Alyssa identifies as pansexual now. Because I took a lot of shit for calling her bisexual back then. Well, for calling her gay. But like, she was bi. I was like, we say that in the movie too. Like, no, you say she was gay. I was like, leave me alone. It was 24 years ago at this point. Page 20, panel 1. Alyssa closes out the panel with Holden smiling behind her, and Alyssa says,
From co-creator of Bluntman and Chronic to co-creator of an actual human being, you continue to make fun stuff that also has something personal to say. So we thank you, ChronicCon guest of honor, for all your work, and I thank you for letting me interview you for once. You're not only one of my favorite artists, you're one of my favorite people too.
fucking pitch perfect rendition of that long speech. Give it up for her. Panel 2, Interior Convention Center hallway. We see the audience emptying out from Holden's panel, blending into the crowd of cosplayers. There's a loudspeaker announcement, which you could do, Lala. Who do you want to do it as? No, but do it as somebody fucking famous, bro. You set up expectations now. You got another Joker you can do it as?
I have Morgan Freeman.
Oh, yeah! Morgan Freeman on loudspeaker. Here we go.
Attention all extras. Report all H for the Bluntman v. Chronic shoot in about 30 minutes. Thank you.
What else you got? Herbert the Pervert? Let's hear it.
Attention all extras.
Oh my God, every announcement she says like that. Go ahead.
Report to the hall H for the Bluntman v. Chronic shoot in about 30 minutes.
Panel 3, interior panel room. The room's empty now, except for Holden and Alyssa near the stage, and one Silent Bob cosplayer packing up his bag. Holden sits on the edge of the stage wrapping up cables. Alyssa's standing, holding her stomach, crossing her legs, and she says,
I gotta be bad. Can you wait here for Jimmy and Amy to get back?
Totally. I gotta wrap up all my gear anyway.
Panel 4, alone now. Holden sits on the edge of the stage, quietly wrapping up wires. Panel 5, the same exact panel, but now Holden looks up with wide eyes in response to the sound of the door slamming from off panel. Maybe vibrate the panel, make it feel like a very big door slam. It says, Kerslam! Then panel 6, a smiling, seated Holden says in his first line from Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, the line that he said off camera in the movie, use image from Jay and Silent Bob Reboot's reference, Holden says,
Look at these morose motherfuckers right here.
and in the lower right corner of the panel, a quick stop sign indicates the end of our issue, the end. Give it up, tell you something. Act like that's something you're worried about. So does Steve Ledwell, not really. And you, excellent job. I know the girl who did the real thing, and Dan, where were you when we were making this movie in 97? What were we, like 3? 7? If we do it again, it's you. Give it up for the kid.
Thank you.